Mike, check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and yard sale season is not that far away. If I'm not mistaken, daylight savings time or the end of daylight savings time starts this weekend. So we're going to get an extra hour of daylight, which is huge, especially for us here on the East Coast. This is the point in the year where we're kind of walking away from the 20-degree, low 30-degree weather, and we're slowly creeping into consistent 40 and 50-degree weather. And for us, that's huge. I mean, that means being outside is actually bearable. You don't have to bundle up, and the odds of people returning to things like flea markets and yard sales are higher. So it's definitely a good sign for the bargain retro game hunters or just video game hunters in general. This is a good sign for you because this means that you're going to be back in action this season. Now, I'm really curious to see what this season is going to look like. I think we've seen, the yard sale and flea market scenes. We've seen those scenes kind of morph over the past few years. I've seen less and less videos of people, discovering, $3,000 worth of games for $500. You don't see that anymore. What you're seeing now is more negotiations. You're seeing people bargain at close to market prices. And if there are deals being made, they're not for anything super rare or super exclusive. Nothing that, no one's giving anything away, basically. And I think we saw people literally give stuff away, 3, 4 years ago. I've been doing the YouTube thing now for, like I said, for about 5 years. And I remember like back in 2020, 2021, all the way up until about 2022, 2023-ish, I would say up until about 2022, there were so many resellers. Like there were so many content creators that were going around and doing the yard sale and the flea market thing. There were so many of them because it was so easy. And slowly but surely, you started to see these channels just kind of die off. They kind of just slowly withered away. They stopped making content, they transitioned and started talking about other things. And when I saw that at least 50% of the channels that I used to watch, because these are channels I used to watch, when I saw about 50% of these channels just completely fall off the map, that was a big sign to me, because no one's going to stop doing something that is making them money or is making them happy unless they, went through a major life event, or they just lost interest or whatever the case may be. But, I wasn't really seeing that, because even for the folks that were continuing with that type of content, like I said, you weren't seeing the major massive deals that you saw before. So I say all that to say that this is going to make for a very interesting yard sale season for 2025, being half a decade removed from the glory days, so to speak. And it's just going to be interesting to see how much more inventory is left out there. How many more Super Nintendos are stored away in someone's attic, right? How many more grandmas and grandpas still have their children's old NES systems? There were millions of these consoles and millions of these games sold. So, there's a good idea or a good chance that a lot of these items will be left for people to discover. Now, that's if you're on the buying side of things. But if you're on the selling side of things, what are going to be the best methods for sellers to get rid of their stuff? If you're a seller, if you're someone, just dropped the phone. If you're someone who has games, if you have an inventory of items that you're wanting to sell and you're looking to get top dollar for your items, right? Because we know the buyers, they want they want the lowest price possible. Sellers, they want the highest price possible. So if you're a seller, what are the best avenues for you what are the best avenues going to be for you this year when it comes to selling your items? And we have a lot of the traditional methods for selling games. Obviously, you have your eBay, your Mercari. Now we have different online, like social media auction platforms. Like you've got your Whatnots, and then now they've got Encore. You've also got Facebook Marketplace, which is still an option for a lot of people. Craigslist, I think, believe it or not, some people still use Craigslist. So if you're thinking about doing something online, those are like the major online channels that come right to the top of my at the top of my mind. That's if you're doing something online. If you're doing something in store, obviously you can do your mom and pop shops. You can go ahead and sell to them. There's obviously GameStop. You can sell your games to GameStop if they're willing to buy them. But outside of like mom and pop shops and GameStop, I don't really know if there's any other option for you to take your games and sell them. If you guys know of any other outlet for sellers to sell their games, like in a store, brick and mortar setting, then you guys could let me know that down in the comments. But then you've also got the alternative methods, which of course is going to be setting up a tent in your front yard and doing a yard sale, setting up a booth at a flea market and doing it there. And then, of course, you have your gaming conventions. If you're going to, want to get rid of maybe your entire collection, doing a game convention setup might be another way that you could go about it. Now, I think all of those methods are viable, but it's really just going to depend on A, what types of games you're selling, B, like who you're targeting for these games, and C, what type of profit you're looking to get for these games. I think for a lot of your lower and mid tier games, Mercari, eBay, those sites should be great. But believe it or not, I feel like setting up a booth at a game convention is going to be a better way to go if your collection is made up of a lot of heavy hitting, banger, rare, exclusive titles, right? So you're definitely not going to want to put like Earthbound on Facebook Marketplace. I wouldn't. I don't know. It's just maybe that's just me. But if I had a collection filled with games like Rule of Rose and Earthbound and Chrono Trigger and stuff like that, believe it or not, I think a gaming convention might be the better way to go because you're going to have a lot more viable candidates looking to buy those types of games at a gaming convention. And believe it or not, that's something that I thought about when it came to me offloading a lot of like the more pricier games in my collection. I really considered setting up a booth at a game convention, but they're just, there's not really like a lot of conventions near me that I would be thinking about going to. I know there's one in Long Island that I've considered, the Long Island Retro Expo. I thought about setting up a booth there one year. There's also one that they have in Connecticut. I can't remember what it's called. I thought about going and setting up a booth there as well, with just a bunch of the more rare items, and not just games, but also like peripherals and consoles that I want to move. A gaming convention might be the better way to go. So we'll see. Gaming conventions seem to have a lot of traffic still. I put out a video like a few months back talking about how I felt like the only people that went to gaming conventions were resellers, selling to each other. And a lot of you commented on that and basically said, no, Y2K, like there's a lot of people who have a lot of interest in gaming conventions. A lot of just collectors wind up going to those events. So, I haven't been to one of those since 2022. And I know when I went to that one, it was packed. And I went on the last day, which is usually like the day where there's probably like the least amount of people. So it'll be interesting to see. But like I said, selling season is right around the corner. I mean, I guess you could call it buying and selling season. They're right around the corner, and it's going to be interesting to see how people both source and sell their games this year, for this spring and summer of 2025. So let me know what your plans are down in the comments below. What do you think the best methods are for buying and selling games this year? And maybe I'll see you at one of those events or at a yard sale or a flea market. That does it for me. It's the Y2K Collector. I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.